Hello and welcome back to the Low Key Variety Hour, the art talk podcast that always hopes to provide a new perspective on the art we talk about. I'm not going to bother, re-explaining how this whole thing works. So if you're a new listener, sucks to be you, I guess, but I trust you to pick up what we're putting down here. It's not fucking rocket science. Regardless, I'm here with my two co-hosts, Funkster.
Yo.
And ArcaneDinkster.
Howdy.
Alright, and yeah, we're just going to jump right into it. And to start off, Elijah, you have the floor.
Oh, I have the floor. Well, first of all, we should probably say that we're reviewing Bungo Stray Dogs Season 1. And I have seen all of the seasons of the show. And, well, Season 1 is by far not my favorite. And its main problem is that it's more of a lead-in into the better seasons. It's still a relatively good season. I love all of the cast of characters, and I find that a lot of the characters are generally, what's the main character's name that I'm drawing a blank on?
Atsushi.
Thank you. A lot of the characters, like Atsushi, are, I find Atsushi's just desperateness to find a reason to live to be, I don't want to say relatable because that sounds super concerning, but I find that it can be kind of like almost makes you think in a way of, wow, what is the reason of life? Which sounds almost depressing, but it's also kind of refreshing in a way. I also enjoy a lot of the humor from a lot of the other characters, like Rampo. I was not prepared to go first, my bad.
You don't have to use all the time.
Okay. I guess only other comments are, first season had a lot of things that, looking back after watching the later seasons, you're kind of like, why did they do it that way? Because it almost feels like they did not write the first season for the rest of the show. But I guess that's a little bit off topic since we're reviewing the first season. The first season is a little bit anticlimactic at the end, since they just introduced this whole new organization of, the guild, which is a big thing for like the rest of the show, but not, it literally appears for one episode in the season 1 after their whole, they basically should have probably cut season 1 at episode 11 and left season 12 for the second season, is my hot take.
Alright, well, I'm AJ, and I guess I'll just say my thoughts on the Bungo. Unlike these two nerds, I was not the biggest fan of the first season. Well, obviously Elijah said he wasn't the biggest fan, but it put me on the wrong...
I still liked it, though.
You still liked it, yeah. I didn't care for it. I thought the animation was really good. I thought the humor was really funny, and I thought the individual character writing was really good. But for a build-up season with a detective-like anime that doesn't have that much action, it suffers horribly, in my opinion, with the actual dialogue, and kind of makes it a slog. I mean, I'll go into more detail about it later. And but also one more thing is, two of the characters in the show, I feel like I get hard uncomfortable every single time they're on screen. But I mean, yeah.
I assume you mean Gentle Snow Guy and...
Shut up! It's my turn! Right, so, now I'm gonna have to be Mr. Media Literacy here. So, I really enjoyed Bungo Stray Dogs Season 1. Like, probably not one of my favorites or anything, but it is an incredibly effective story about, like, finding your place in the world. I find Atsushi's, like, whole psychology very engaging. You know, he was this dude who's basically been told his entire life that he doesn't deserve to live. And so when, Dazai basically forces him under his wing and puts him into this environment full of people who are like willing to give him a chance, he still doesn't really understand like the value of his own life. I mean, because when Octagawa shows up and puts pressure on his new life, his first instinct is to just run away. Like, he never even considers relying on these people who have taken him in or fighting back. He's just like, well, I've caused so much suffering, I've got to leave. And over the course of this season, seeing him develop more of, like, awareness value of his own life is very like compelling, especially right at the very end when he recognizes basically that every single life has value and like goes through hell and back to save Kyoka. It like I was, cheering. It was very impactful to me. It's a story that I find like very valuable and heartwarming. Also, but let's talk about some of the other characters for a bit, because I find them like just as compelling. Dazai is a character that interests me a lot because it seems to me like, the rest of the characters who comprise the Armed Detective Agency are trying to like kind of make a home for people with abilities, because it seems like they're kind of ostracized from society, the people who've got superpowers. But it feels like Dazai doesn't really believe in this. He seems like kind of a manipulator in regards to how he handles like the situation whenever he's kidnapped, how he kind of puts Octagaba and Atsushi against each other mentally, and how he fucks with Kunikita in that one arc with the bomber and ends up getting that one dude who Kunikita saw kind of like as a son killed. It seems like he doesn't really, believe in the Armed Detective Agency the same way the other characters do, and I can't help but wonder if that's kind of setting him up as a bit of a stealth antagonist in later seasons. Not like an out-and-out villain, but a character who's going to have to, like, learn to, put aside his worser instincts in order to become a better person. And I would really like to see that play out over the next seasons if that's, like, what they're going for. Or if it's not, I'm still just excited to see where it goes. I think that's about going to do it for me, because, I'm more excited about doing the cross-examination, which is going to start right now. I'll hold on to it now for still. Like,
okay.
It still picks up all the voices, guys.
Alright, so, first of all, AJ, what cocaine did you snort, and where can I get some? Second of all, about Dazai.
Well, don't spoil anything.
No, I'm not spoiling anything. But do you know who George Carlin was? He's dead now.
Yeah, the comedian.
Yeah. George Carlin had kind of... Dazai Season 1, at least, seems to have a very similar kind of almost like life perspective that George Carlin did. Of just kind of seeing where things go and just kind of like, whenever I die, whatever. And it's just kind of like almost a sort of curiosity and apathy towards the actual outcome of life, which, I mean, obviously he's trying to get himself killed for the majority of for the majority of the show, honestly. So it's not too surprising that he has kind of a laissez-faire view of what actually happens in the real world. It's kind of an interesting contrast with main character Atsushi, thank you. I'm not an anime person. These names get me, man.
Oh, trust me, I do not remember any of the names. You guys pull out names, my brain's like...
Okay, I understand having trouble remembering character names, but I will say, like, Japanese is one of the easiest languages to pronounce, I've been told.
Well, either way, it's just character names in general.
Yeah.
Dude, I am zero lingual. I barely speak English. Back off.
Like, I was having a hard time remembering freaking names from, just American movies, like the freaking Spider-Man movie that just came out. I remember 4 names. That's about it.
But I think it's an interesting contrast because Dazai has no reason to live, but is generally, at least outwardly, happy. And Atsushi has no reason to live and is desperately searching for it and is very much not happy because he doesn't have a reason to live. And then Dazai's just like, I don't have a reason to live and I'm fucking vibing. Which I think is kind of an interesting contrast. And I also think
I hadn't really picked up on that before, but yeah, now that you pointed out, that is like a kind of an interesting contrast. I agree.
Yes, Dazai is trying to get himself killed, but he's not sad all the time.
Yeah.
Which I think is very interesting.
Yeah, although I don't, I agree with what you're saying, but also I can't help but wonder if, his cheery demeanor is kind of a front, At least in part. Not that, he's not genuine when he's, with Atsushi or whatever, but you kind of hear what I'm saying?
I do hear what you're saying. I have, future episodes knowledge, which I'm not.
Yeah, I don't.
I kind of get the vibe that he's like trying, like he basically turned a new leaf and is like trying to change himself for the better compared to who he was.
Yeah, it's just those instincts kind of carry with him, and so it's a bit hard.
Yeah, so it's like I don't think it's like necessarily like a front or a fake persona. I think it is still like obviously just who he is. It's just he's just turned a new leaf in life.
You'll find out a lot more about Dazai in later seasons, but
Oh wait, Dazai, isn't he the? I'm trying to think of, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong character now.
Dazai is the suicide
Okay,
guy.
no, I was right. It was right then. I don't know why. I was thinking Dazai was the journal writer for some reason.
No, that's
No.
Nikita.
That's good. Yeah, that's Nikita. That's right.
But Dazai, this isn't really a spoiler because it's like evident in season 1, but you can put it more succinctly if you've seen all the seasons. Dazai's basically trying to find a reason to care, but isn't upset that he doesn't care.
I can kind of see that because I think one moment that like really stands out to me is whenever he like challenges Kunikita, like by setting up that scenario where the victim in that one case and that one hacker dude like both end up dying.
Okay, at the end of that scene, he basically says, "Oh, there was no other way," which bugs me whenever shows do that, like in. Or movies do that, like in Endgame, whenever they were like, there's like, oh, there was only one possible solution out of all 9 million things. There, I'm kind of like, okay, fine, because magic and because whatever, and it's I'm like,
well,
okay.
Once I feel like, Dazai says that, but I don't think we're meant to take him at his word. Like, I think the show isn't saying that he's right just because he said that, Because Ashercell didn't think he was right, and Kunikita didn't, and, like, that's not meant to be seen as like any sort of cathartic conclusion. It's a downer ending.
It is a downer ending,
and I think that's kind of the point, because that's kind of what I was talking about with how I feel like Dazai doesn't quite understand like the motivations behind the armed detective agency the same way the other characters do, because like I was caught off guard with that scene specifically because it felt like the conflict was more or less resolved, Like, yeah, they still basically needed to arrest that one lady, right, more or less? I mean, It's been a minute since I've seen it, so I can't remember all the exact details. But, like, the situation was prepared to resolve itself, and then Dazai interfered and kind of made it worse, from what I remember.
Well, Dazai, what happened, to refresh my memory, is Dazai figured out who the Azure Messenger was.
Yeah.
And then, instead of just basically being like, let's go arrest this girl, he summoned her to a place where Kunikita and the kid, whose name we'll call him Kunikita's kid, even though he's not that kid. He summons all three of them there, and then the girl shoots the kid, and then Dazai, and then she's like, "Oh, but I've dropped my gun. You can't kill me now. That'd be a crime." And Dazai's like, "Yeah, it would be a crime." So then he drops his gun into the lap of the kid that's already dying. And he commits a crime, but. Like, you could clearly, and then at the end of that whole scene, Dazai's just like, there was no other way. And it's like, come on.
Yeah, no, like, exactly. He's the instigator here, Yeah. And Dazai standing in defiance of that, I think, is going to be something that, like, grows as the show continues on.
I will say, it also is kind of contradictory to, Konakita, or, like, his conflict with Konakita, because isn't it, like, because I know, like, Dazai and Konakita, the whole thing is that they kind of conflict with ideals and morals. Yet, I know throughout the show, Konakita has, like... Or, like, he has that exact same output where it's like, oh, there's no other way, don't do it, it's not worth it, you're waste... Like, it's like the...
You're talking Konakita's like that?
Yeah, wait, Konakita, that's the
Dopa.
Yeah, although I kind of get what you're saying, but I think the difference between the two of them is that whenever Konakita is, like... being controlling, it's out of a desire to like protect life, because I think of, for example, like near the end of this season when Atsushi and Octagon are fighting on the boat, like Atsushi gets off the boat at one point, right, and Kunakita's like, alright, let's go, but then he's like, I've got to save that girl.
He doesn't get all the way off the boat.
Yeah, but like he has the option to leave, and he decides to go back in order to save Kyoka. And I think, again, it's been a minute because of extenuating circumstances, but what I remember being the case is that, like, Kunakita basically explains that, like, saving himself would, like, be the easier, more, like, optimal option. and Atsushi like just decides to do his own thing, and Kunakita like is okay with that.
Well,
right?
Yes, you're more or less correct. The thing is, Kunakita would normally be very much on the same page as Atsushi of like, oh, yo, yeah, save her, go, go, go. But Kunakita sees Atsushi, no, wait, what's the girl's name? Kyoka as essentially a outsider, as a villain, as a problem, because she has killed, what was it? 32 people?
I think it was like 35, something like that.
Something around there, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's basically doesn't care if she lives or dies because he labels her as like a bad person. But if she was an innocent, he would be right on the same page of
Atsushi.
Yes. Atsushi.
It's like At and then sushi.
Atsushi.
I think
there you go.
I think the reason why Konakita didn't try to like stop Nakajima, I think is his name.
Nakagawa?
No.
Okay, the character.
Atsushi.
Yeah,
that's what he's referred to as Atsushi. It's just some of the characters are referred to by their first name, some by their last.
Yeah.
Depending on all formalities and stuff like that.
True.
But Atsushi, I think the reason why he didn't stop Atsushi is like,
Well, Kunakita couldn't really in that scene.
Well, yeah, but I think Taryn, didn't you like say something about like you're a little confused in why he didn't try to like stop him? You just kind of like
no. What I was saying is because you were talking about how Atsushi, Kunakita and Dazai are similar in how they kind of like are controlling people's lives, and I was saying yes, but what I think the distinction between them is that Kunakita like intervenes in order to like try and protect others' lives, protect and preserve others' lives.
Yeah.
Kunakita is, I think there was a character that we've maybe talked about before in ReZero that was kind of similar, in that I would not say that I'm an idealist. I consider ideals to be generally like you should have morals, but I find ideals are oftentimes too simplified for the real world, in my opinion, and they can oftentimes just lead to like inefficient outcomes. Like honestly, this is almost contradictory to my point, because I would agree with Kunakita that Atsushi should have just left the girl behind, Kyoka behind, but also it's just Kunakita is so. I think you can definitely pursue ideals to a fault. That's very much a Kunakita.
Yeah, he was a very idealistic person, and shit,
I think he's stupid for that, but that doesn't make him a bad character.
This guy.
We've mentioned before that Taryn's very much an idealist, and I'm very much a
pragmatist is the word you're looking for, which I don't even think is true, but regardless, AJ, you were gonna say something.
I was gonna say, it really makes it's really. I'm really conflicted when it comes to this show, just because like you guys are talking about the character writing. I'm really invested in the character writing because I got these ideas too, and like and some of these other messages into it, and I can tell that I really enjoy this character writing. It's just, and I would like the show, but the individual dialogue, like I mentioned before, was just I don't like it.
Can you like?
And I was getting ready to make an example actually. Yeah. And I was about to say, like, there is a lot of times where this happened, but there's one specific instance. Okay, and before actually I say it. With the Azure incident, with Dazai, did it ever explain exactly when Dazai kind of realized that it was the girl that was the Azure?
I remember following that like just fine. Again.
Wait, no, I was just asking. Like, wait, did it ever?
Okay, are you saying did it explain the evidence?
No. Did it like did he ever outright say like how he figured that out, or did it just he?
I'm pretty sure he did, but it's been long enough that I don't remember exactly how he.
I'm fairly certain he like revealed how he figured it out in the scene between him, Kudikina, the Azure Messenger, and Kunakita's kid.
Regardless, I remember when I was watching the show. And it, like, whenever that whole hostage situation was going on, it really threw me off and was like, alright, that's some wonky dialogue, but whatever, was as soon as they find her, her being, I'm pretty sure she was like the first victim they found, the first quote-unquote victim.
Yes.
Yeah.
The first thing she does is like, I am a teacher at this school. And I'm like, alright, cool. Because I was like, And not to and then nobody questioned the idea, or there was nothing, like, nobody had any inkling of an idea, like, that's a little weird, because, like, you're in a hostage situation, you're a victim. Why would your first thing to say as soon as you're being saved is, this is my occupation?
What?
I mean, I agree that maybe it's a little bit weird, but one, dude, half of the people in this show are, like, clinically insane. Two, part of that might be difficulties dubbing and whatnot. Because I know
it could be a dubbing thing.
Well, no, I don't think. I think it's more just a case of. I think this is a thing you need to understand with art. Is like, first of all, I can't remember. I don't even know if what you say is actually true because I don't even remember if that's how the scene played out. I'm not necessarily saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, like, I don't remember that being the case, and so I'm not gonna, like, just take what you say at face value. All right?
All right.
And that's fine.
All right.
Okay.
I think.
But I wasn't. No, let me finish here, because here's something I have to say. Even if that is the case, like, in a work of fiction, like verisimilitude, things being, like, super realistic, or which is kind of, I don't know if that's actually the point you're trying to make, but when you're speaking about this, to me it sounds like what you're saying is you want the dialogue to be more realistic, because it's like, why would you say this the first thing when you're in a hostage situation? It's like, maybe that isn't, like, what you would do or whatever, but it's not like the writers have, like, failed at their job because they've chosen to, like, do this a certain way. It's really just a matter of personal preference.
I'm gonna say it.
Oh?
I agree with Taryn.
You agree with Taryn?
I agree with Taryn on this, yeah. Like,
and, like, I'm not saying it has to be super realistic. I just think it doesn't make any sense. Because, like, I feel like...
Okay, if... I could be misremembering the scene because it's been a long time and I didn't take particular note of that scene, but I believe that Dazai asks her, "Who are you?" and she says her name, and then she's like, "And I'm a teacher at blah, blah, blah."
Yeah,
Which
that's...
isn't, like, that far
I mean,
unreasonable. If,
I don't know. I mean, like...
Okay, personally...
It's like as if you got in a hostage situation and you're like, or I did, and I was like, "Hi, my name's AJ Funky. I'm a delivery guy at Pizza Hut." Like,
okay, yes, but if I was in a hostage situation, I probably would identify myself as, for the sake of people being able to identify me easier, I might be like, "Oh, I am a member of the National Guard." You can get, like, the CAC, my military ID.
Okay, well, can we take a step back? But here's the thing,
different,
because you were saying, like, I'm not necessarily saying I wanted to be more realistic, and then you immediately went on to say, well, what would you do if you were in that scenario? Implying that you really...
I don't know, I think it's like we both have our own we both have different definitions of, like actual realism. I just think, like, I think there's, in terms of, like,
My guy.
Okay, wait, can I make a point here? Because here's what I was going to say. It's like, the dialogue, like, doesn't seem to work for you. That's fine.
Yeah.
I can't, like, force you to change your feeling on that. The one thing I'm going to say here is that I think it is unfair to frame it as, like, a criticism of the writing, like it's, not good, when it's really just more about a personal preference. And also, it's at this point for me where it's like, we're spending so much time debating this, but it's like, at the end of the day, does it really matter all that much? Because, like, it matters to you because the dialogue gets in the way of your enjoyment of the show. But for someone like me or Elijah, it's like, we connect with the dialogue, and it helps us, like, appreciate what the show is trying to say.
I have 2 points. First of all, season 1 is a lot of setup for the rest of the show, and I do admit that there are points in the show. At one point, whenever Dazai is prisoner and Gravity Boy, who was his former partner, whose name I forget, comes in and whatnot, and they're talking, that did seem a little bit exposition heavy and whatnot, because there were a couple lines that were basically being like, "I predict this, blah, 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 and as you know, my predictions always come true." Which is kind of like more, more thrown in there for the audience than actually thrown in because the characters would say it. But neither here nor there. The point that I was getting to is, yes, it can be a little exposition heavy. Yes, maybe it's not exactly what the characters would say, but that does go away a little bit in later seasons. Yeah. And 2, my guy, you're criticizing realism in a show where no one gets hit ever by any of the bullets, and the guns make noise every time that they're moved in a direction. Like, they're like reloaded every time you swing your gun. Which is just funny.
Obviously the anime is not very realistic, but I guess like I will agree with the whole standpoint that it's just like the dialogue just isn't for me. Like it's just not my kind of cup of tea when it comes to the dialogue. I guess
I do think a valid criticism of the show is with the whole setup of her being the first like hostage that they rescued and like them saving her on the brink of death. She would have had to either somehow like the whole idea, at least in the show, at least from my understanding, is that she put herself there, right?
Yeah.
She was like about to die, so she would have had to like time that and be like waiting and ready, which would have been relatively easy to reveal.
Yeah. And
probably they should have been caught because she was like counting on them to save her in a situation where there was really no way for her to exactly predict that, in my opinion, which seemed a little bit kind of like a stretch, but.
And like I will agree with that like criticism is that like I do agree with that criticism just because if you're gonna portray a show where these guys are super smart detectives and stuff, then you should actually portray that they're super smart detectives and like they don't get
There is some suspension of disbelief because
Well,
the thing. Hold on. Whenever you're creating a show about characters and you want a character that's stupid intelligent, there's always the rub of you're trying to write a character that is smarter than you. Because like Dazai and other characters in that show have like superhuman intelligence. So obviously you're not going to be able to actually write them like as if they were really superhuman and explain everything. Like Rompo, whenever he solves that case and whatnot, and they explain a little bit of like the evidence, and then they're just like, and the rest he did some magic super big brain way. Because they kind of have to, because they're not a super genius, of course. But the whole point that I'm getting to is you could argue that maybe she, as another super intelligent character, was very, very calculating and very predictive of when they would save her and arrive or something, and knew exactly when they would show up. Or something like that. Because Dazai makes like predictions that are like almost like just like clairvoyant, futuristic, can see the future all the time in this show.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say honestly, at this point, it just comes down to a difference of like what we value in art. Because I've always been like, to me, like I'm gonna steal a quote from somebody here, which is like, to me, film, art, whatever, is not about logic and plot. It's about emotion and feeling. Like, I am not super... I don't really care if, something doesn't line up 100% consistently with its own rules. What's always more important to me is, like, whatever it is the authors are trying to say and how effectively they say it.
I agree with you in principle, but there is some part of me that just, like, hurts and gets a little bit... and, like, breaks the immersion a little bit if something is, like, too unrealistic. Like, now that I've been studying like engineering and whatnot, whenever they throw out big sciencey words in like the sci-fi shows and whatnot, and they're like, oh, the resonant frequency and the quantum blah 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 and whatnot, and I know like actually kind of what those words mean enough to know that what they're saying is complete bullshit, it kind of does like subtract just a little bit, but I'm not gonna sit there and complain and be like, that's not how real science works, because of course it's not.
How dare they not know how astrophysics is?
I am not an astrophysicist, just an aerospace engineer.
Yeah, I know, but still, like, I was just pulling out. Again, I'm pulling out rain. Doing the very thing you were criticizing.
Yeah. But, shit. There's one thing I wanted to, like, discuss specifically that is, like, slipping my mind at the moment. There was, like, a specific scene or something I wanted to talk about. But something, I was really intrigued by the penultimate episode this season about that one lady who's like Octagawa's right hand lady. I still forget her name.
I also forget her name.
Yeah, but basically I find it interesting.
Person.
Yeah, I find it interesting how like it seems as though, to me anyways, like the Armed Detective Agency and the Port Mafia kind of parallel each other in regards to this theme of like finding a place where you can belong. Because obviously the Armed Detective Agency is meant to be like a more healthy, supportive place, which is, how Atsushi comes to value himself better. And then you have this lady who's dedicated herself like wholly to like Octagawa's, success and future. And the second he's taken out, from what I remember the episode, everybody is very quick to like abandon her right up until she like proves her mettle and like risking her everything to try and help Akutagawa after she's kidnapped, and then they come back. Yeah, I'm just curious, you know, to see how that conflict grows, because right now, and part of it's definitely because I watched the show a month and a half ago, but I can't quite, you know, figure out in my mind how these two organizations kind of differ from each other and why one, you know, would be represented as the, you know, better option in regards to finding, you know, your place to be as opposed to the Port Mafia and all this. So I can't quite, you know, I'm struggling
That's
here.
actually an interesting topic that comes up a little bit more in the next season.
I'm probably gonna keep watching Bungo.
I was actually gonna say a good thing that I really enjoyed. And it was about that part of the first season. I was so expecting them to just pull the whole like, I keep forgetting his name, but the Akutagawa. I was so expecting Akutagawa to be like, as soon as he wakes up, be all like not passive aggressive, but like be like passive aggressive towards her and be like resentful and be like, oh, get back down to your place kind of thing. But no, he immediately was like, thank you very much, and I was like, holy shit, because like I feel like if it was almost any other show. Or not any other. I mean, it was made by like literally anyone else or any like big name company. They would have also went the resentment route and made him like super resentful towards her / just put her in her place.
Yeah,
and that is kind of a moment of character development for Akutagawa, because for the rest of the season, he's literally like, I don't need your help and whatnot. And then it was like, I would have died without you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, the other thing I don't like about the show. Yes, you're right. By the way, it's those freaking siblings, dude.
I can agree with.
Dude, it makes me so uncomfortable. It sucks too. Is at the start of the show, like the first episode, I was like, oh, I really like this whole programmer dude. And then as soon as the sister comes in, I'm like, get your dumb ass out of here! You're practically sexually assaulting this man.
I don't consider this much of. I don't really consider this a spoiler, so I'll go ahead and say those two characters get a little less screen time as the show goes on. Not like.
Yeah. No. That was.
There are so many things.
I'm more desensitized to this kind of shit
because he's seen so much anime.
Yeah. But anyways, that doesn't mean I'm like, you know, okay with that. It is something that makes you uncomfortable, and I'm just kind of like,
it's like, why did you have it in here? It's like, why? This doesn't add anything.
It's purely her fetish. It's like,
what? Why is it here? It's like,
because they make money.
Look,
because
man.
The fetishes who go
look,
watch
man. It's a matter of creative expression. It's okay if you don't like it and you're uncomfortable with it, but
expression.
Hey, I also said I was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I also don't think we should just be like, this is uncomfortable, immediate censorship.
I mean, like if you are gonna pull out creative expression, then you gotta pull out the question of, if it is creative expression, then that gives the idea that the creator is into that fetish.
No, don't start with that shit, man. We don't know this guy. We can't make any assumptions on him.
That's why I'm saying that I'm not going to say it's creative expression, because that's what that.
I'm gonna say something and then we're gonna put a pin in this. But to AJ's credit, Wonder Woman was made the way she was because the guy that made her was into like bondage and wanted and so he gave her a rope and whatnot to tie up her.
William Morton Marston was a psychiatrist.
Okay, he was a psychiatrist who liked bondage.
Yeah, exactly. Shit. I would actually love to talk about William Morton Marston and Wonder Woman a bit. Yeah, but that's way off topic. But I was going to say, in regards to, because this is just something I need to beef about you with for a second.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do this thing where like, oh, it was in this work, so maybe the author agrees with it. Because no, we don't know this man. We can't make any assumption about him from his art. Because like, here's the thing: art definitely does come from a place of like, you know, the person, our soul, right? Mm-hmm. But there are also still things that people just put in there, you know, that isn't necessarily reflective of how they feel. A pretty clear example of this is like Masashi Kishimoto, the dude who made Naruto. Like, he's happy with the ending he wrote, but he talks in an interview about how like in real life, you would find his values falling more along the lines with Sasuke in regards to like vengeance and stuff like that, as opposed to Naruto, you know, the hero of the story who is correct.
Oh yeah.
You know? So basically, just we don't know the author, never make assumptions about an author. Bad.
Yeah.
L Riz.
Well, the thing is, well, I was just saying that under the idea of you said for creative liberty, like for create, like. What
and
was
to
your
be
term?
fair, creative expression
Creative
can
expression.
just be I think this would be funny or something like that.
But then it's just like, why do you find that funny? Or it's like, what other reason would you get out of that?
Okay, yeah, but you could say that about literally anything that you don't like, you know?
Well, but like you can still see things that you don't like and be like, all right, but I see why they would find that. But it's like, why would you see this and be like,
My
yes.
whole solution to all of this is to simply ignore it. So
Yeah.
anyway,
No, I feel that.
I do want the one last thing I do want to say about it though, and this is because it's really funny. Whenever they were like at the brink of death and they didn't die, I was a little sad. I'm not gonna lie. I was really hoping they just killed them all. and also I thought it was really weird how like he still couldn't escape the whole thing, like stuff that his sister puts him through, because the doctor that he was being healed with was putting him through even worse shit. And I'm like, Jesus, this man cannot get a break.
Yeah. No, I would say actually, episode 3 really surprised me in a good way because, like, you know, that early on into a show, I wasn't quite sure how, you know, Bungo was in regards to, you know, character survivability and whatever. So whenever, you know, the twins, Natsushi, were getting gunned down and stuff, for at least when I saw the next episode, I was thinking, is it like, you know, really this kind of violent show? I didn't expect Natsushi to die, but I did actually think like the other characters were just dead.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm not one of those idiots who's like, oh, fake out deaths are bad, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like it's whatever,
Okay,
but I did think it was a very like affecting moment for like setting stakes and shock value, I guess would be a
I
term.
suppose. My whole thing with the fake out deaths is that they get old, and it makes it to where real deaths are like you have to do something more to make it real death and whatnot.
Okay,
But
I need to.
I do before
Hold on,
Taryn goes
hold
on his 30-minute rant.
I was going to say,
I do
we're
want
gonna
to say.
tail that
Yeah.
on kind of loosely a little bit. Atsushi and the girl,
Which one?
the young girl.
Okay, Kyoka.
Kyoka, thank you. Atsushi and Kyoka kind of have a little bit of like a love interest-ish. They have like a strange relationship that like it could be a love interest, but also not. And that's
Well, I can
also
see.
kind of
I can kind of see it as like Kyoko developing a bit of a crush on Atsushi, but you know, I
What?
don't think Atsushi is that
Yeah.
kind of guy.
The idea that I get from it is the girl, like, what's her name? What was her name?
Kyoka.
Kyoka. I get the idea that Kyoka is like just really into, like, you know, is really into her brother, and then
No, those
no,
are.
not that one.
oh wait, no.
Kyoko is the
Kyoko-
girl who killed 30.
Oh, you're talking about the main character, those characters.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're pinning away from the twins. Sorry. I'm
Yeah.
Like, yes. Never mind.
Although since you kind of lost the plot there, I like to say
Yeah.
because thankfully what you said just now reminded me about the point I was going to bring up, and it was something I realized during the like the episode like on the train where Atsushi and the doctor lady are fighting that I thought was really interesting is in how like Atsushi seems very invested, you know, once he learns more about Kyoka, he's instantly like, gotta protect her, gotta save her life. And I just find it very interesting how quickly he was to jump on saving her life when he seems to not value his own life so much, you know?
Typical
Or like
main
in that scene as well, he also has the moment where he's like, you know, if I can save a bunch of people, maybe I'll have, you know,
A reason to live, yeah.
exactly, yeah, I'll have
My life
justified my own existence. And I do think, obviously, you know, that's something he's going to have to learn and grow out of across the course of the series, but it was a very great character moment, I feel.
Yes, I find it's also, you know, obviously pretty easy to sacrifice your life for someone else's whenever you don't really value your life that much.
Yeah.
To the point that, like, oftentimes I find that if you care enough about somebody that you're willing to sacrifice your life for them, then I almost look at that as meaning you would rather die than suffer the grief of losing them. and that therefore it's kind of the selfish thing to do to sacrifice your life, because then you're basically like, you gotta not deal with my death. Fuck you, bitch. I'm out of here. That's honestly kind of how I see it with a lot of the... Like, if I were to die for one of my friends in real life, I would almost be like, that's what I would prefer, therefore I'm being selfish, and now you have to deal with the loss and grief.
Pontification for the sake of pontification.
There is actually a good bit of, like, shows and stuff that do, like...
You say funny words, funny word, man. Continue, AJ.
I can't point them out exactly, but I do remember watching, like, other shows where they specifically point that out and kind of put that criticism against other shows where they're like... Because that is a very common thing, obviously, amongst anime and other media, where it's like the main character is this sacrificial, like, I must save everybody and not care about my own life. So, like, I have seen, like, other things in the past where they pointed a finger at that and been like,
that's dumb.
That dumb.
Yeah, no, and honestly, I'm personally of that opinion that I think self-sacrifice is dumb as fuck.
Yeah.
And so I always do find myself drawn to shows that do support that message. And I think that is something that Bungo is, like, kind of saying with its theming. Because, you know, one of the... Well, I wouldn't say it's not. I think it is a core theme, because I think, for example, a big example for me, and this is also one of my favorite moments in this season, is whenever, and I talked about it a bit before, whenever, you know, the Port Mafia attacks the Armed Detective Agency and states that he is their goal, Atsushi is immediately like, okay, gotta go, you know, I've caused these people so much suffering. And then the Port Mafia attacks anyway, you know? Which puts on display how flawed that kind of thinking is. And then when he goes there, the Port Mafia kicks the shit out of anyways, because, you know, the Armed Detective Agency is a place that can protect itself and provide for the people under its roof. Like, that's the whole point of that scene. And I was like, hell yeah, you know? That
Yeah.
If I think that's one of my that scene would probably be one of my primary examples of how, like, not having consequences in the show can be just as impactful as having consequences.
That's actually the one I think about it, I also I think Atsushi I think one of the big reasons why he went so big to sacrifice himself and like the whole huge thing to save her is because of that love interest idea. Because I'm like, ever since, like, they kind of hint at it and they kind of get there, like, I'm not, maybe they don't conclude to that, maybe they don't end up like that actually.
Honestly, I get more, like, surrogate big brother energy than, like, lovers, you know?
Maybe not, maybe so, but, like,
it seems...
he as is evident from him leaving and then getting punished for that, or not punished for that, but, like, he still faces the consequences.
Yeah.
He also... There's also other parts of the show where other people get into danger, like, for instance, Dazai, when he gets into danger, I mean, Atsushi is not quick to his feet to save him. I mean, he kind of just relies on his buddies to do it not for him, but, like, to do it.
Are you talking when Dazai gets captured?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm wondering...
he does bring it up to the Armed Detective Agency, and the Detective Agency is just kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Dazai will be fine. Dazai is Dazai.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
but, like,
well,
he's
to be
not...
fair, I think it was more they're just, like, because Dazai's kind of a lazy bum.
But he still let them like brush it off. It was only when she was in life-threatening danger and like how he was able to relate to her so hard, and how and also like there was other messages in between that to kind of give him a reason to save her.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
no,
like,
I do think it's like because he didn't think or know that Dazai was in danger, and then you know Kyoko was right in front of him is the main thing for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
I am going to side rail this a little bit of something I like, which is like not really important or like a central plot point, is I like, and this is maybe just me not having seen enough anime, because from my understanding this is somewhat more common for anime. I kind of like how specific and sometimes just silly the abilities are.
Oh, yeah.
And how it's like, oh, I can heal people, but only if they're dead.
Yeah.
Or, this is technically like the most minor of spoilers, but the scene on the train with the lemon bomber, what is the lemon bomber's ability? Tell me.
Isn't it just that you can make lemons bombs?
No. He has immunity to lemon-shaped bombs. He made those bombs, but he is immune to lemon-shaped bombs. That is his ability.
I completely, like, I'll be honest, like, I know you mentioned it earlier before, But I like anything revolving the train bomber. Completely forgot almost. It's like you mentioned the lemon bomber, and then I was
Look
like,
oh
guy. Yeah, he's lemon bomb.
I would say though, in general though, as
I mean,
like
he wasn't a
as
main character, but
Yeah.
this season doesn't have a whole bunch of action, but I would say the action and production values in general are great.
Yeah.
Because
Didn't
in regards to
criticize it earlier for like bad action.
No, I said the action's fine. It's just not. I mean, I just said it wasn't a show about for a show about the action. I didn't care for it. It really hindered my ability to enjoy the show when I didn't care for the dialogue because it's very dialogue heavy.
Yeah.
It's action based.
Anyways, I was gonna. I feel like we were about to say the same thing. Where I wouldn't even say action is anywhere near the primary focus of.
I agree. I don't.
Well, that's why I said it's not. I said it's not the primary.
Oh, okay.
I said it's a dialogue heavy show meant for It's like a show meant for dialogue, which is why I didn't like it nearly as much when the dialogue didn't fit me personally, because that's the whole part of the show is the dialogue and the character writing and it's not about the action. So
Yeah.
Although I did like the action.
I was gonna get back to my original point though, it's just because I never say this out on my channel, but I've talked with you two about it, where I am not a fan of shows that have power systems that become so granular that you need a full fucking paragraph to explain whatever the dude's power is. And that's one of the things I'd say Bungo actually does really well, because there are tons of creative abilities. Like you just gave the lemon bomber example, that's a fun creative ability, but it's not so granular and anal that it has to have that kind of JoJo, I'm watching a PowerPoint presentation kind of action, where there's dynamic, thoughtful exchanges between the characters. So it's not like it's, just totally brainless, two characters doing karate at each other.
Yeah. It does get a little bit more detailed with a lot of the abilities, kind of as they go on. Oh, there's another fun little spoiler I want to say, or more of a teaser, honestly.
You keep your fucking mouth shut,
It's
Woodman.
just a teaser. It's just a teaser. A slight spoiler, but also
Nope.
a teaser.
You're not allowed.
I hate you.
Motion denied. Give me a gavel.
I think
Bonk,
that
bonk.
you two should plug your ears, and I should tell the podcast. That'd be so fun.
You know what? Let's go. Here, you want to hold the thing really quick?
Warning, I'm gonna leave the room.
It's the most minor. Are you even gonna watch the rest of the show?
Don't
Okay,
put
okay.
the mic right next to your mouth, dude.
Octagawa is a support main.
Alright, you can come back in now, Funky. Holy shit, that's gonna be torture on the audio to edit down.
I'm so sorry, all two people that will watch this far into the podcast.
Hey, I did recommend
Hey,
it to one of my
man,
coworkers.
the-
He might want to listen to it.
The ReZero episode has at least 60 views.
60?
Oh,
Okay, that's not bad.
Something
That's
like
actually
that.
not bad. Yeah, that's actually
I won't say
better than I
that.
expected.
That's more views than my freaking Roachware thing I published.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I
also more
actually
views than-
shit. I'll check
than the
right
Loudest
now
Crow gets.
on my
Yeah,
phone how
really.
many views.
Generally,
it
I
was.
think the Loudest Crow most viewed episode has 73 or something.
Yeah, because they don't really. To be fair, I do put a bit more advertising work into my shit than they do, which
They do.
isn't a
Yes.
bad thing. Yeah, 64 views on the first episode now.
Nice.
Oh, interesting. Not bad.
It's also on Spotify, I think. I don't know entirely how Spotify works. I'll be real.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anywho, we have digressed.
we have. Shit. I know there was more I wanted to say.
Well, you better.
Oh yeah, Daza, I want to Bungo his stray dogs.
What the? No, I don't know what the hell that means, but no. No.
Now might be, because I can tell we're kind of running out of steam.
Yes.
And I'm just trying to stretch this shit out to the hour mark.
What? Don't do that. That's the bad practice. What time are we at?
It shows right there. We're reaching 50 minutes now, which is why I was going to say we could try and approach a conclusion like we did with the ReZero episode, where we give our top 3 favorite moments and then give kind of a conclusion on all our thoughts and feelings of the show. And then AJ can give us what we're going to cover next time.
Alright.
So how do we want to start this? Who wants to start?
I mean,
I guess if we're gonna end with
yeah, I was
AJ,
about to say
you
end with
start.
me. Oh, I was going to say end with me,
or-
start with me, and then go back around and I can say my thing. Or,
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Best 3 favorite moments. Twins were at the brink of death. I enjoyed the little bit with the freaking Anne character, the Anne doll character.
Yeah, I forget her name.
Oh yeah, in the last episode.
I enjoyed that a little bit as like foreshadow for second season, and also I thought the third episode with the mysterious death of one of the PIs. I think it was a PI death. Like
the one with Rompo he's talking about. So not the third episode, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
that was the third episode. The lady.
No, that
died.
was like fifth.
That was fifth.
That
Oh,
was,
okay.
yeah.
Her death, like that. I thought that was. I liked that episode.
Yeah, that was fun. All right, so is it you or me?
It would be either or, but I'll go. I would say probably top 3 in no particular order. I really liked the president being like, Rompo, please help us, and they're like, we'll give you a raise or whatever, and he's like, not interested. I'll give you praise.
Oh yeah.
Well, why didn't you say so in the first place?
Yeah.
I did like that moment. I also like some of the fight scenes with Akutagawa and Atsushi. And one more would probably be we'll also say the twins nearly dying. That's right.
You guys are so vindictive. God damn. Okay, so as for me, I'd say third favorite moment probably whenever Atsushi and Kyoka get to spend the day together and like bond after she's had such a miserable life. That was just a really sweet moment. Second favorite, probably the Rompo introductory episode. That was just a fun as hell like detective mystery thing. And honestly, I think my favorite moment of the season might be Atsushi versus Akutagawa on the ship. That was just a great fight, with like a lot of heart behind it.
Also,
I just really
does not
liked it.
die. Atsushi does not.
Oh yeah, no,
He has
Atsushi gets
regenerative
fucked
abilities,
up.
yeah.
But yeah.
It makes sense, but it's also kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Honestly,
it's kind of like Deadpool. It's like what do we need to kill him?
I know, but that was sick, honestly.
Throw him to the
And
balls,
I
so.
don't mind the violence, the violence. Anyway, so I guess now we gotta offer our conclusions. Sorry, but we kind of skipped over that part. So I'll start off here actually, just because I was already talking. So like I said, I really enjoyed Bungo Stray Dogs. I think it. I know the two of you say it's mostly a setup season. I don't know if I disagree with that, but I also found a lot of value in it by itself. I found like the characters were engaging, the messages it presented spoke to me, action was great, and I'm probably gonna. I don't know if we'll cover any more for the podcast. It depends on what happens. But I'll probably watch more on my own time regardless. And shit, I might even make videos about it if I, get that invested. So yeah, I think that's gonna... I don't do number scores because fuck that. But I really liked Bungo Stray Dogs. Now do rock, paper, scissors. Who goes next? I'm kidding.
Okay. Well, I liked it. It was a pretty good season. Not my favorite thing in the world. Honestly, season 2, the next season, is literally one of my favorite pieces of media, and I've only had us review this so that we can review season 2 if we ever come back around to me. It's probably what I'll do, unless I do a video game. But my only real gripe, I guess, is that it did seem a little bit like exposition sometimes slowed it down. But I guess that's kind of partial to every first season, and maybe I shouldn't be hard on it for that.
Agents. Yeah, I think it's pretty. I think I know I could really like it, and maybe I'll like later seasons, which is why I'm not. Why I didn't really care. I didn't want to hear spoilers, and I might. And I don't know. Like I'm not like super like throw it away kind of thing, but it was just like it just hurt a little bit that I just couldn't enjoy the dialogue because that's like I know I could enjoy this. I know I could enjoy so much of this, but it's also just that dialogue, man. For me, it's just is not my thing. And just to spite you, Taryn, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10.
Nope. We don't. Oh god,
definitely
that
heard
was
that, yeah.
awful on the audio. Holy fuck.
No, I've been watching it. There's a lot of peak moments on here. It's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to edit it anyways.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, unfortunately.
But
it's mostly this fucker's fault. No,
nah,
I'm kidding.
I will be honest. In my intro, I like grabbed the microphone super close to my face. But anyways,
What are we reviewing next?
I was about to say, you want me to say?
Yeah, no,
All right.
that was the idea.
The next review, Blood Blockade Battlefront.
Season 1.
I've already watched it. I don't have to do anything. Yes.
Because I love
Yeah,
that
we were
anime,
just
and
talking
it is
about
similar to
this.
Bungo Stray Dogs, but it is my kind of show.
Yes. I don't gotta do anything. I'm already ready. And when did you watch that?
It was like years ago, man. I have to rewatch it.
I watched like the first 10 episodes and then dropped it for literally no reason.
Okay.
Shit made me cry and everything.
I remember
need to rewatch it.
Yeah, I remember like telling you about it when I first started watching it, like way back in high school, and you're
Yeah.
just like, neat. And then,
Yeah. And then went on to go finish Naruto or something.
Yeah.
No, I think middle school is when I was I
Naruto,
binged
yeah.
Naruto. But
Not for you. I think that was your JoJo phase.
well, I didn't exclusively watch Naruto when I was in middle school.
I know,
It
but
can
like,
be both.
But for JoJo, like in high school though, it was like there was like a good bit where you watched like exclusively JoJo.
Ugh.
Yeah.
You got me into that. Fuck you.
Yeah. Hey,
No,
man.
but anyways, yeah, we're gonna be doing Blood Blockade Battlefront next time. It seems like I'm down, and I'm probably gonna really like it because I was really enjoying what I saw. Like I said, I dropped it for no reason. But yeah, that's gonna be episode 2 of the Loki Variety Hour. I am gonna have to do a lot of editing for the audio on this shit.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Alright,
but
peace out.
peace.